Hi there, and welcome to Know to Grow. I'm your host, Lauren Wood. I'm so excited for our guests today because for the first time ever, I now have another farm girly in the newsroom with me. We just hired a new weekend morning anchor, and her name is Morgan Anderson. She just started with us this week, and I was so excited to find out that she has a lifelong background in agriculture. So you'll probably be seeing her on Know to Grow more than just this one time, but we wanted to introduce her and we wanted to talk a little bit about your background, Morgan. So tell us a little bit about where you grew up. I know it was a farm. You said south of Columbus. So tell us all about what it was like for you growing up on the family farm.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. And I'm super excited to be here. This is actually my first job post-grad. So this is really just a super fun opportunity. So I'm excited to be here at Channel 2. For me, I grew up on a 7th generation cattle farm just south of Columbus, Ohio, about 40 miles in Fairfield County. And so my family, we have this generational farm. Originally, it's actually a dairy farm, and then it eventually became an organic dairy farm. We milked for Organic Valley. And then about 10, 12 years ago, we switched to primarily a beef cattle business. Just with a shift in market trends and ag outlook, it's really hard to stay afloat in ag. And so a lot of people, you find your way to keep on going, and that's how it looked for us. And so the way it worked is my aunt and uncle were like the sole proprietors of the farm. And then my mom, my stepdad, and my siblings and I, we were also in one of the farmhouses on the farm as well, along with my grandparents. And so we lived there, and alongside you could go out in the backyard, and we had Holsteins dotting the fence row with the dairy farm. And so growing up, honestly, I didn't think much of it, especially living in a rural community. It was pretty normal to drive to school and see cornfields and cows, nothing crazy. But it wasn't until I got to college and now in my post-grad era that I'm finding, and Lauren, I think you can relate to this, people find it pretty charming. It's like, oh, that's so unique. That's so special. Whereas to me, it's like, if I go back home, whether you have a family farm or not, it's pretty normal to bale hay in the summer if you're, one of the boys around town.
That was like football conditioning.
Right. That's what all the boys did. And then if you're at soccer practice, you're like sneezing all the time from all the, straw dust in the air.
Yeah.
So, it is really funny because I didn't think much of it.
Yeah, our track conditioning was running around a cornfield. So that was what we did every spring. We'd run 2.5 miles around this cornfield.
Oh my gosh.
Day to day, what was it like? Did you have responsibilities, chores, things that you helped out with on the farm? Or was it more something that you weren't as actively involved in day to day?
Yeah, day to day, we weren't as involved in the operations. With it being a dairy, we did have a farmhand, and then my uncle was really the main lead there. But when you work on a dairy farm, I think what's really important to know is that farming as a whole, not even just dairy farming, but farming as a whole is really a job you don't take much of a break from, but also dairy farming, no.
Yeah.
Grain farmers, there's the off season, and then some of livestock production, there can be that more of a lowly period where whether you're waiting on another shipment or what have you. But with dairy farming, the cows are always there needing milked twice a day, at least for us. And so, I vividly recall going on vacation with my family and my uncle always staying home to milk the cows, or on Christmas morning, they don't care, cows need milk. And so, although I wasn't out there necessarily doing those things, when you grow up with that lifestyle, and my mom did especially, it really opens your eyes to, wow, we all use our 24 hours very differently.
It shapes your work ethic.
Right.
It really does. Now, I'm interested in hearing the story of how you went from the farm to TV news. I know in your kind of introductory email that our news director sent, he talked about you loving TV news for as long as you can remember. So what kind of sparked your interest in this? And, how do you think that farm background is going to play a role in what you do day to day here?
Absolutely. I kind of look at kind of where I'm at now, and I'm like, wow, how did I get to this point? And honestly, I do owe a lot of credit to my mom. But I'll be honest. So growing up in a small town, a small rural town, I graduated with about 130 classmates, not super small in the grand scheme of things to me, honestly, but to some of my peers I've met in college and that sort of thing, I've learned that's probably on the smaller side, but I've seen it go much smaller. So, we didn't have things like a speech and debate team or, study abroads, like those opportunities that I feel like maybe more of your urban schools would have. And so for me, the things I were involved with were one of my biggest things I was involved with in high school was our FFA chapter. So a lot of people, when they hear FFA, if they do know what it is, it probably rings a bell as being the Future Farmers of America. And so it is a student organization based on agricultural education and student leadership. And so what our organization does is since 1928, as you can see on the screen, here's Ohio FFA. This is our state association. We've been equipping leaders to be advocates for agriculture. Now, whether or not they go directly, in the field, dirt under their fingernails, or they're like me and you, Lauren, just talking about it, getting it out there, that's what this organization looks to do. And so in high school, I was a member and then subsequently became a state FFA officer for Ohio. And then actually in 2023, I was a national FFA officer. And so, no one, the normal person might not look, okay, how does FFA tie to TV news? Well, FFA builds a lot of the fundamental skills that have now led me to where I'm at right now, right? I was competing in public speaking competitions, interview competitions. I was completing award applications. And at the same time, I was learning career skills that maybe look a little different. I was learning hard work by long hours outside on my supervised agricultural experiences. And so before I knew it, I loved watching the news with my mom just in general, like seeing like, oh, are they going to cover my small town of Amanda? And just really eager to see like, how close do the news reporters get to where I actually live.
Yeah.
And when it came to FFA, I realized, hey, I can speak, I can write. You learn how to articulate opposing issues on different agricultural topics. And Mom and I would sit there on a Saturday morning and then I was like, Mom, what should I study in college? Because I knew I want to do something in that comms world. And she's like, why don't you do journalism? Like, you know how to talk, you know how to say it from all the different sides, and you know how to articulate yourself, like give it a shot. And we're still here. And so now I take a lot of joy in agricultural journalism, and I'm hoping I can bring that to Channel 2.
Yeah, we have a huge agricultural community in the Miami Valley, so I'm excited to have that. I don't get to go out kind of boots on the ground as much and tell those stories. And I'm excited that we have someone now with an ag background who's going to be able to do that. I think that's going to be great. Our news director was just talking about that yesterday, just how pumped we are to have someone with that background to be able to tell those stories. Let's talk about where you are now, because I know you guys are going to be, actually, let's do that in the next segment. We're kind of counting down here. We've got about 4 minutes left. So let's talk about what you did with FFA in college first, because I didn't realize. So I was not an FFA. I grew up around agriculture, but didn't really get the inside view until I married my husband. He also grew up on a 7th generation cattle farm. They've been beef cattle the whole time. But I was not an FFA. So I thought it was just a high school club. I didn't know that there's also, even when you get to college, there are things that you're doing in it. So let's talk about your national experience while you were at OU with FFA.
Absolutely. So in a sense, FFA is technically considered an intracurricular organization, whereas things like soccer and National Honor Society in high school are extracurriculars, meaning they're curriculars you complete outside of school, whereas intracurriculars, the way people join FFA is by taking an agricultural education class through their middle school or high school. And so when I was at Ohio University, it's not that FFA was offered, it's that I was able to take my experiences further by completing different awards or running for different leadership positions. And that then takes you above that like 18-year-old mark. Typically, your FFA career can be as young as 6th grade and as old as about your junior year of college in terms of opportunities that will take you that long.
And you traveled more than 100,000 miles, is that right, while you were serving as a national officer?
Yes, I was on a team of 6 as a national officer, and I was the Eastern Region Vice President. Wow. It was super awesome. I went to Japan and met the future farmers of Japan. I gave keynote speeches. I think my biggest one was 70,000. Smallest one was 1. And I did workshops about gratitude. There I am in Japan. That was so fun.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just a great experience, and I took a year off of college to do it.
How do you expect that experience to translate to what you're going to be doing here in the newsroom?
I'm a firm believer that we're all connected in some form or fashion, right? It's that golden thread. There's my headshot. It feels so long ago. It was just 2 years ago. It was so fun. And so for me, I feel like I'm a good connector. And so I remember my first day here, I was looking, we have a map in here of our whole coverage area here at Channel 2. And I just feel so called to cover the areas that are really on the outskirts of our coverage area. Driving that extra hour or so if it means that our viewers get the coverage and the share that they deserve. And so my goal is that you don't see me a lot here, you see me a lot out there. And so I'm really excited to hopefully make that happen.
We've got just about a minute left in this segment before we go to break. Tell me a little bit about the kinds of stories that you're drawn to, especially those stories on the edges of the coverage area.
Anything that's related to food and agriculture, right? We all need to eat. We all, in some way, agriculture is the number one industry in the United States. We quite literally have 1% of the population feeding 99% of the population. I don't know many other places where it's like that. And at the same time, we all need to know more about those who feed, fuel, and clothe our number one industry, and it's agriculture. And so I feel really motivated to tell those stories. I'm naturally more drawn to them as well. And so I'm hoping to share some stories like, I hadn't thought about that. Or, people always say this, but what does that really mean when I pick up bananas? Or, who are the people that are driving the tractor when I'm running late to work and I get really upset? Like, who are those people? And so, that's what I feel drawn to tell, and hopefully that can end up being happening. So share it my way if you know a farmer worth sharing on 2 News, because I would love to give them the coverage they deserve.
All right. Morgan Anderson, she is our new weekend morning anchor here at 2 News. We're going to have much more with her when we get back. Hey there, and welcome back to Know to Grow. I'm your host, Lauren Wood, and we have a very special guest with us today. I'm so excited to introduce you all to her. This is Morgan Anderson. She is our newest hire here at 2 News. She's going to be our weekend morning anchor. She'll report 3 days a week, and then you'll get to watch her on Saturday and Sunday mornings. I believe it's from 6 to 8 a.m., right?
Yep, you got it.
So we're very pumped to have her. She brings a lot of talent, but I love the experience that she is bringing to our newsroom because she has a fantastic ag background. We were talking in our last segment about her involvement in FFA and growing up on a dairy farm and a beef cattle farm. And so for me, it's kind of an aspiring homesteader. And I grew up around agriculture, but it wasn't until I married my husband 13 years ago that I really got kind of the inside experience. I love having somebody to teach me. So I'm really pumped to have Morgan with us. I'm also excited to hear about what you have going on right now, kind of in your life, because you just moved to your own farm.
Yes.
So I want to hear all about that and what your plans are. Number one, how you found the place, because I know that can be a challenge. So, gosh, I'm so excited. I'm hitting the mic. Tell us what's going on. I'm really pumped for this.
Yeah, so I'm currently dating my boyfriend, Bailey, and so he's also very involved within the agricultural industry. He actually works in agricultural media sales, and before that worked in grain marketing. And so him and I mean, you can kind of see why we would get along, right? And so we moved in together when I got this job in Dayton. And so we live in Champaign County on a nice small little farm, right? It's humble because we're just in our 20s trying to figure things out. But currently right now, we have about a half dozen of breeding rabbits. And then we in layman's terms, we essentially breed rabbits and then we sell their babies. And so people can then, if they want to keep breeding rabbits and sell those babies too, they can be sold for meat rabbits, the whole shebang. And then we also have 2 gilts. So a gilt is a female pig that hasn't had a baby. We have a spot gilt and a Duroc gilt. And in Morgan terms, that means they're really cute. They're not like the basic thing.
Oh my goodness! No,
so the red one is John Pork, and they're both girls. The spotted one is Esmeralda, And there
how
they are looking at our farm
cute.
dog Moose.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. So these will be mama pigs eventually?
Mama pigs in the spring,
Okay.
and we're gonna farrow them out, meaning we're gonna breed them.
Okay.
They'll have babies, and then we'll have baby piglets to sell in the late summer. But mama pigs, so when pigs are pregnant, so their gestation period, it's actually really funny. 3-3-3, 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days. That's
Okay.
their gestation period.
Interesting.
Too bad humans can't be like
I
that.
know, I'd like that. That'd be
shorter.
so much easier.
So that's what we have going on.
that
and
is
then,
so exciting.
yeah, Bailey, the boyfriend.
Okay.
You can kind of see his legs in there.
Yeah.
At one point, he had about a dozen mama cows that he was breeding for
Yeah.
cow-calf pairs. So
Okay.
a mama cow and a calf.
Okay.
And so then you sell those babies as well, and you can
Okay.
make money doing that. We sold those off when cattle prices got really high.
Yeah.
If you talk to farmers, you kind of have probably heard lingo saying cattle prices are so high. And depending on if they're happy or sad determines if they're buying or selling.
Yep.
So we sold those off, but one day we hope to expand. I foresee in 2026 a chicken mansion.
Oh,
full of
yeah.
birds. in
All
my
right. So we're
future.
wanting meat chickens or laying hens?
Let's I think to start us off, let's do some laying hens.
Okay.
You know what though, but Bailey and I have fully talked about later down the line.
Yeah.
Like if we were to get a barn and even get I'm talking like thousands of birds and sell them off for like commercial food.
Oh, yeah.
That's a nice little it's not a little side hustle by any means, but in the ag world, it's like, I
yeah.
could just put up a barn. But you see, we'll see how things go. This is like
Mm-hmm.
a dreaming over here.
I want to get back to the meat rabbits because I think that is so interesting. And you said that Bailey actually was able to put himself through college, basically
Yeah.
raising breeding rabbits.
Yes. So Bailey had he's going to watch this and he's going to be like, I can't believe you're talking about me this
No, I
much.
think it's so cool. I love it. I'm always like looking for business ideas for my kids. I've got 3 kids.
Okay,
They're little
Lauren.
right now, but I'm like, we need to figure out how you're going to make money,
Right.
kid.
Rabbits, I was just talking to our general manager, and I think based off of Bailey's experiences with rabbits, I think they're really great when you come from more of that homesteader background. Like you're not necessarily a production farm, but you want some animals. Rabbits, I mean, Bailey he told me, I'm like, what do rabbits need to be like happy and healthy? Because I probably put too much emotion into my animals, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, honestly, rabbits are really simple. All they want is to be fed and dry.
Aw.
So if you have rabbits at home, or if your child wants to join FFA or 4-H and you want them to have a small livestock project that doesn't break the bank like maybe a steer would, rabbits are a really great way to do that. So he had a business, it was called Bunnies by Bailey. He'd breed rabbits, show them at the county fair, and when he would sell them, his parents always told him those earnings you get from selling your animals then go into an account for college. And sure enough, it put him through his time at Ohio State. And so
Incredible.
I just, that's something like, Lauren, you could do that. And
Yeah.
one day I hope to do the same.
Yeah, for
Rabbits
sure.
are pretty smart. It's a good business idea.
Yeah, there's a couple of like homesteading YouTubers that I follow that do meat rabbits, and they talk about how, like, as far as survival food goes, meat rabbits are just so much better than chickens because to get the chickens that grow really quickly and everything, you can't really breed them yourself, and how much more readily available the meat rabbits are, and you can keep it going,
Right.
which is I thought was so interesting. I'd never thought about that before. But then also, it's harder because they're so cute.
They are really
so you
like
have
when-
to not get attached.
We were like selling them. I think it was early fall last fall, and we were taking the photos of the little babies.
Oh, yeah.
And Bailey's just trying to get a normal photo, it shows their length and whatnot, like the things you want in a good animal, right? And I'm over here getting like the cute photos, and I'm just like, oh, these are really cute.
No, my daughter's asked for them before, and I'm like, yeah, but would you eat them? And she's like, what do you mean?
She'll get there.
So we'll get there. We gotta work on that. Tell me about kind of what the biggest learning curve has been for you, kind of getting started on your new farm.
Yeah, chores. I mean, this part wasn't a learning curve. I just think it's different when you go from a family operation where
Yeah.
there's so many hands in the pot to now it's just the 2 of us.
Yeah.
Like, I could come home from work, and I live pretty far away from the station because that is a lifestyle I want to have. And so, you still have to go home and do the chores. And when it's cold outside, you still have to do all the things. If the water's frozen, you need to get it not frozen, all the things. Animals are also expensive.
Yeah.
They're not cheap.
Yeah.
And all the things I knew, but it's different when it's just you and someone else doing it, or if he's traveling for work, like it's just me. But I also think like Bailey has also been really great. So I remember I went to my first cattle sale because of him, because I had never been involved in showing livestock. That's a very common county fair thing with
Yeah.
4-H members.
Yeah.
And I remember going to my first cattle sale with him about a few years ago, and we sold just a little calf named Rose. She was really cute. But I guess I just didn't know all that went into it. I mean, you're like hauling a trailer across the state. Not only that, you have to wash, dry, clip your calf too. And that was just for a sale. Like if you're doing a county fair, you want them to look even
Oh,
prettier.
yeah, you're
and
like
even
blow drying
nicer.
them, like spending more time blow drying
Yeah.
them than we do our hair.
Right. Like their
Yeah.
products are so nice. And
yeah.
so, we're not really in the show industry right now, but one day when I do have children, that's something I did not show. I just grew up on a farm, but that's a lifestyle I would like to give my children. And so that has been something where I feel like I'm learning so much about animal welfare and also like the aesthetics of animal livestock too. Like how expensive it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they do get treated way better than people do. Like
They
if you're ever worried about how the animals are being treated, I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like their shampoo's
They are
way more
babies.
expensive than mine.
They are. And it's great to see those relationships that the kids have with them. But then at the same time, they're also, kind of not to be cliche, but the circle of life because,
Yes.
especially at the fair, once you're done,
Right.
they're going on a trailer. So it's,
Maturity.
Yes.
It's a lot of
Yes,
maturity.
absolutely.
And whenever I go to the county fairs and I just look at the students on the sale day, it's just there is so much like growth, not necessarily growing up in a bad way, but such a beautiful lesson of growing up in the sense that you're learning how to save money. Like, oh, I'm being given a few $1,000s because, I won the grand champion, whatever. Like they are learning that sense of responsibility. Like, all right, this goes in a savings account. I don't get to see it for 10 years, right? It goes towards something bigger. And so I just have a lot of respect for, I think, showing. And that's something I'm excited to learn one day when I have children and we can do that.
I feel like there is a growing interest in people knowing where their food's coming from, growing it themselves when they can, even if it's in suburbia. I feel like the guy who so we have a garden here and we have a garden on the farm on my in-laws farm. We have a house there and then our house here. So there's a guy that comes and tills up the ground for me for my garden here, and he was talking about how, especially since 2020, how busy he has gotten with tilling gardens because so many people are just so interested in that now. Why do you think that is? That there's been kind of this shift in thinking from instead of just I'm going to go to the store and get it to hey, maybe this is something I should grow myself. I don't know if it was the shutdown or what, but have you seen that?
I have. Yeah, I mean, you kind of see like backyard chickens. Like there are literally city ordinances now being like no roosters, but you can have your chickens or no chickens at all. Yeah, you're right, Lauren, and that's a good point. It is kind of, I think you could probably answer this better than me. I did grow up in a rural community, so it was so normalized. I think a lot of people, though, just want to feel more connected to their health, what they put on their table for their families. I also think grocery stores, like when you get into the weeds of it, can be really confusing. Like I'm working on a story right now about how food labels are really misleading. Like what do all these things mean? Are are bananas really non-GMO? Well, bananas are not genetically modified organisms. So no, but you'll see a sticker on there that says non-GMO. And so I think it's a way of people taking matters into their own hands. And I also think in true humanistic, form, we, agriculturalists were the first scientists. Like humans, we naturally want to, take care of the land and produce food. And so, I don't know, Lauren, like for you, like with the homesteading, I know your husband has the farm, but that's him. So for you, like what made you so drawn to it?
That was something that I was lacking. My grandfather was the farmer in my family, and he died when I was 4 years old. So I grew up missing that. I was involved in my county fair and 4-H and stuff, but I never got to take animals. I was the first fair queen in like years that didn't show, steers or hogs. So I always felt like that was missing. So I was really excited for my kids to get involved with that. Excited, just for us as a family to be more closely connected to our food, to just that way of life. And that was something when we started having kids that we knew was going to be important for us. And then I do think the pandemic, there was like a shift in thinking like, hey, we want to be able to provide this stuff whether or not we can go to the store. And I think
Right.
that's made a big difference for a lot of people there. We are unfortunately out of time. So we are going to wrap this episode up. But as you see, Morgan and I have a lot to talk about. So we're going to have her back very soon. Thanks for joining us for Know to Grow.